Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Jeremy here, bringing you today's news story topic of the day. It's not a single story I'm covering on, but basically over the last few days, due to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's speech on the Iranian nuclear deal and various things going on in the East, including the Iran's involvement, against fighting ISIS, and just that whole convoluted mess over there, basically, which obviously U.S. is partly responsible for. Obviously, people that uh, do this or overthrow governments have some burden of responsibility themselves. But unfortunately, when the U.S. went into both Afghanistan and Iraq, while I do think it was the right decision, I think that they left it prematurely before there was a solid foundation. Now, I don't know if it's going to be a democratically elected government or just something that's a little more tolerant than what they had. I honestly am not an expert. There's so many little, tribal intricacies and, different things going on over there that unfortunately I don't have all the information for. And not living over there, I don't understand it on a day-to-day basis. So I can't give a good solution to that. But, the militaries in both Afghanistan and Iraq obviously weren't up to par, with Afghanistan recently suffering a bunch of casualties in their ongoing fights against the Taliban and other militant groups and little warlords, different things they have going on over there. We spent obviously over 10 years in Afghanistan trying to rectify that situation after removing the Taliban from governing power, and there's still a lot to be desired, and I feel that we're pulling out and leaving the job half done. But also wanted to cover Iraq, where we've unfortunately done the same thing, and it seems that President Obama and some members of Congress don't want to do anything more than drop bombs. Well, I think dropping bombs and medical supplies and food to some of the refugees in there it's a start. I'm definitely going to admit that, but all I think it's going to do is blunt the advance of ISIS, and we've seen that they haven't really gained much more territory in Iraq, but they're not doing any fighting, and I think troops are needed to ultimately go in there and finish out. I think the Kurdish Peshmerga and the Shiite militias and the Sunni tribes that are sick of it, dealing with ISIS, and obviously they're fighting for their lives in most of the cases, are gonna be able to initially get them out of the cities and stuff. But I think it'll turn into another type of big insurgency, and if not, they'll just go across the border back into Syria, where they seem to have more of a firm foothold anyway. And Syria is another mess I'm not going to get into because I could go on that for a whole hour. I might do a special follow-up episode on that, but I think, unfortunately, Iran is a double-edged sword in this. I believe that they are beneficial in terms of the fact that they do seem to be helping Iraqi units and Shiite militias in certain areas make progress. And they do have, it seems, the grit and determination to go in there, and obviously understand that there's going to be losses because they've suffered some losses themselves. They're not going to say that they have, Quds forces fighting in there and around revolutionary forces, but there's been a few high-profile funerals that they've had for some of their leaders in the field. So obviously they have somebody over there, and it seems to be helping. Obviously, we'll see what goes on with Tikrit over the next couple of days, and then the areas around it. They seem to be making some initial progress, and of course, ISIS has their own stories and news out countering that, saying that they're prevailing in the areas around Tikrit. But if the U.S. has a problem, I know Secretary Kerry has said on an occasion that they're watching Iran's actions in Iraq. Obviously, we've got the nuclear negotiations going on for hopefully some type of solution that, de-teeths the Iranian nuclear program, though I'm not overly optimistic because it seems like the U.S. is willing to take somewhat of a bad deal, and I don't see a deal where Iran's going to agree to completely give up everything, all their centrifuges, or stopping making new plants and processing fuel rods. But One can hope so. I'm not going to be critical of it until the process is done. I believe they have their final deadline sometime in June. Unfortunately, I don't know the exact date. I apologize for that. But one way to counter Iranian influence is the U.S. has to get more involved in Iraq. They've done some steps. I mean, I know we have several thousand troops and advisory and training roles over there right now, but unfortunately, I do think it's going to take boots on the ground. And of course, there's always a risk of casualties and deaths as well. So, it's definitely a situation that I wouldn't be jealous to be in as a leader. But if they want a full blown solution, they're gonna have to put their feet on the ground and do something. I think, unfortunately. So, just wanted to share my thoughts on the whole melting pot situation, Syria, Iraq, ISIS, that whole mess, and obviously the U.S. government being upset with Iran. So I would definitely like to hear your comments below. This has been Jeremy. Stay tuned, stay safe. Thank you.